lost a ticket, and someone gave him a ticket to get inside. And anyway, well, I'll get back to you later. We are here at the corner of LaSalle and Quincy, and luckily the camera's up in a truck. These folks are just waiting with great anticipation for when the Bears come through here. I don't know how the Bears are going to get through here. I was here in '81 when the astronauts came by, and it was nowhere near this kind of a crowd. There was a big crowd, but it wasn't even close. And another viewer pointed out to me that the Sting, the Chicago Sting, were world champions, and they had a ticker tape parade in 1981. But this ticker tape parade is going to be probably the biggest since probably VJ Day, I would think, here in town. And we'll throw it back. You'll be back a little later when this crowd calms down a little.
Bob, we have an expert on VJ Day, a man who is there, Jack Brickhouse. We're going to be joining him and provide... The Chicago Bears and friends, they're now passing through the interchange. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they're headed for Jackson and LaSalle. Now, this is what they're going to find when they get there. Big question is, how are they going to get the parade through that crowd of people? I know it's larger than '81 and the astronaut parade. I covered that.
And you mentioned that Jack Brickhouse, who is sitting here with us now, was at the VJ Day parade, but I think that was on Michigan Avenue. You want to compare that as an old hand of comparing crowds, Jack?
Well, of course, in those days, in the Carbon and Carbide building, I was working for WJJD doing the White Sox games. I had gotten back from the Marine Corps by then myself. This was in August of 1945. There was no motorcade or anything like that, no marching, no parade, just people dancing in the streets, but they were tearing up telephone books and toilet paper and everything you could find in order to throw it on the street.
It wasn't cold as this, was it?
Oh, was it? No, it was in August. As a matter of fact, one of the great remarks that came out of it was one of the more prominent fur dealers in Chicago said, those dirty little blankety blanks, they surrendered right in the middle of my August sale.
And I'll bet they matched that or better. No matter what happened VJ Day, no matter what happened on the astronauts parade, this will be Chicago's big one. And back me up on that, John Coughlin and Don Craig, who are at the Civic Center right now. A big one, bigger than anything you've ever seen, John Coughlin?
Well, we are down here, as you can possibly see, with the biggest crowd I have ever seen. And I've been down here many, many times on New Year's Eve where they had big crowds. But this is unbelievable. Don, how many would you say are down?
They'd have to have at least 10,000 people down here. As far as you can see on all the streets surrounding Bears Plaza, on Washington, on Dearborn, on Clark next to City Hall, as far as you can see, it's a sea of people down here. The people are getting very excited. Right now, Johnny Morris and a couple of Chicago's two other sportscasters are warming up the crowd, even though it's definitely Bears weather today.
And we might add that Johnny Morris, our sportscaster, is not even wearing a top coat.
Oh. And it doesn't appear, does it, gentlemen, that crowd has just poured out of the nearby buildings. From the looks of it, when we saw the people there with Bob Wallace, a lot of those people came to downtown today. Obviously, most of those people came rather than just stepping out of the buildings, right?
Oh, yes. In fact, there's a great many school-age children down here, and I know school was in today, but apparently not for them. The word is hooky, I think.
Yeah, at least one mother that we know. I've got a call from her school saying that her son hadn't shown up for the day, and they asked if he was sick, and she said, yes, Bears fever.
Well, you know the nice thing about this crowd, and I include the one on Division last night, there's a wonderful feeling. Sure, they turned over a couple cars and turned over the papers, but everybody has a warm feeling of celebration. You walk down the street, they shake hands, they say, pat you on the back. It does do a lot.
We had a lot of fun when the Bears won it in 1963. There was a lot of celebrating, but nothing to even begin to compare with this.
Did they have a parade then? I don't remember.
I don't recall any, Walter. I know there were some, fancy snake dances in a few of the bars around town in which I took part. But
and of course, on Wall Street, our Wall Street, on LaSalle, everybody says we're bullish on the Bears. Those two big red banners down at the end there on the Board of Trade. Again, I think they're trying to plow it almost like a snowplow, trying to get some line through there.
That is a city truck.
They can carry the Bears.
They do have to make space somehow, or those buses will never get in. Bob Wallace, you still in that crowd somewhere?
Yeah, well, actually, we moved to the top of the truck. We thought it would be a lot easier to try to communicate with you folks and also see what's going on. As I look over our cameraman's shoulder up LaSalle Street, it is absolutely blocked. It is totally blocked with people. Behind us here, you can see, I guess, the start of everything. The police, why don't we get on this jumper and see the police mounted patrol trying to come through here. And I see a police light, and behind that, we're bullish on the Bears, as you said, Super Bowl champs 20 on top of the Board of Trade building. And here comes the police coming through now, trying to get this crowd through. This is going to be one task. Here is a great example of how police horses can be used for crowd control. I remember some years ago when they brought the mounted unit back after they abolished it, and they were saying that for situations like this, there's nothing like horses to get through this crowd, and you can see these folks moving.
There's a real bear right in the middle there, huh?
Yeah, there's always a couple of shirtless folks. His sign says, "Pat's our Purina Bear Chow" on his back.
You know, Bob, the city really doesn't want this thing to last very long because it's hazardous weather out there. They have a wind chill now of 23 degrees below zero, but I suppose the closer you pack in together, the warmer it would get.
When I was down, you're right. When I was down in the crowd, it was much warmer. I'm up here in the truck, and I'm exposed to the elements, and it is a lot colder. And as you can see now, the mounted patrol goes through, clears a path, and then everybody fills right back in. The motorcycles and the police cars are coming through. We don't see any bears yet, but all these people are trying to get back right in there.
But at least we know that cars can move through there. They will make way. They may mob the bears, but we'll see if they make it to Dealey Plaza. Let's take a break, and we'll be right back with the Bears celebration.
Paulus, can you pick it up from here?
Okay, see if we can get a picture right in the front of the first bus. Mike McCaskey's in there, and he has the Super Bowl trophy right in the front of the bus, and everybody can see it. There is an absolute mob here. I've never seen anything like this. Mike Ditka was in an open car. He's right down below us now. You can't see him. He was peeking out of a sunroof. Now I know where he went. I thought it was a convertible. Mike and Diane Ditka, and they got back in because the crowd was so bad. The police are doing a heck of a job trying to get a crowd open here, but people are standing in front of the bus. I mean, they are exuberant, but they're really kind of a pain in the neck to try to control when they're in this kind of mood.
He says it all, doesn't he, Bob? Look at that look on his face.
Oh, boy.
He's having a good time. There's that trophy right there.
Look at him. Where the crowd is looking for Ditka or Peyton or the refrigerator or somebody, and they're getting Mike McCaskey, but he is having the time of his life, isn't he?
Here comes the storm of ticker tape.
I'm not sure I can hear you guys. I think you said something about where's Mike Ditka. Ditka is in a closed car that we saw him out through the sunroof. He and his wife Diane have popped back inside because the crowd was surging and trying to climb up in the car. So they've just gone by us. We see the bus now. We can see some of the players inside. But they've got the tinted windows, so it's very difficult to see them, the real dark tinted windows. They can see out, but we can't see in.
I wouldn't say they were making a lot of progress down LaSalle Street, up LaSalle, toward Washington. They've just turned the corner there off Jackson and the Board of Trade. They're going to be turning off on Washington to try and get far enough so they can make it up to a stage in Daly Center. And from there, Mayor Washington will hold the celebration ceremony. There's our large shot. It's been a long time since we've had a ticker tape parade.
Some
Years.
of the players and their wives and kids. There are babies in the bus, and some of them are carrying little stuffed bears, and they're kind of waving. It's very difficult to see who is who through those very dark tinted windows. Too bad the windows didn't open up a little, and we could see who's inside. But it looks like the players and their wives. A lot of wives inside there, and kids. They're all kind of waving outside.
We were complaining that, or somebody was complaining, they didn't have ticker tape that was being made, so many people volunteered to shred paper, and they collected it. The city took it up, and it looks as though they got enough, doesn't it? 10 tons of ticker tape.
Just think what they're doing to the heating and air conditioning system and all those buildings on LaSalle Street.
We're going to be looking back at these scenes for a long time, many years, because it's a history-making event and picture that we're bringing to you. The celebration of the Chicago Bears as they return home from winning the Super Bowl, number 20, in New Orleans.
Well, here we can see more buses. I can see, well, one has gone by. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. This is not only players, as we said, players, wives, family members. The buses are packed, but it's just about impossible to see who is inside because of the heavy tinting. These are the heavy tinted windows. And we don't see any players yet up in the front of the buses. Frankly, a lot of folks that I don't know are up there. There must be people that, families and things like that. But the crowd is just surging here, and the paper, it's like a blizzard.
People who couldn't get into the Super Bowl, maybe they gave him the consolation prize. You can take the first bus.
Looks that way.
Well, this is certainly one way to take the chill off a minus 23 degrees wind chill factor, isn't it?
As far as these people are concerned, it's 98 degrees and the sun is shining. The weather's not bothering them at all.
Jack Brickhouse.
Well, it occurs to me that the reason we have this one and didn't have, as Walter pointed out, a big ticker tape parade the last time the Bears won it was probably for two reasons. Number one, there hadn't been a long drought. They had won in 56, 7 years previous to that. Secondly, what they won that time, even though it was the championship, was now one cut below what we're seeing here, a Super Bowl championship, which has been developed since. So with those two factors and the long drought between 63 and here, you can understand why this long wait has now caused the uproar we're seeing.
It also probably reflects a swelling of interest in sports team success because the Sox came close and then the Cubs came closer still, and now finally it has happened. So,
and really, when you go back for a world championship, you're talking about 70 years, aren't you, for the Cubs? Into 60 years for the White Sox.
The last time the Cubs won a championship was 1908. The last time the Cubs and the Sox played each other in a World Series was 1906. 45 states in the Union, and Ronald Reagan, the oldest president we ever had not been born yet.
So when you talk about world champions, we have something to celebrate.
Sure,
you know whether there are other teams that you know of that have had a starvation diet like that? Over the Cubs, and Chicago has had the worst of it.
Even the St. Louis Browns had it in 1944. They got into a World Series. No, nobody has been that long. The last time we had a world champion in Chicago was the 1917 White Sox. That's, what, 68 or 69 years ago.
Why do you think that is, Jack? We've talked about the Second City Syndrome for all these years. We've had psychologist after psychologist on this program, on our news broadcast, trying to explain what it means. Give us an idea from your vantage point of all those years as to why the city sports teams always seem to fail in the stretch until this.
Well, we've had what I consider, Walter, an incredible streak, a combination of bad judgment and bad luck. We've had some unfortunate top-level decisions made in the category of selecting talent. We've had some mistakes in handling what talent we did have.
You mean, for example, in this case, even though it didn't hurt this year, obviously, was the handling of Dent and the handling of Bell and the handling of Al Harris. Are those the kinds of things you're talking about? Or do you mean just picking wrong players?
No, I'm talking about trading away fellas like that or something in order to get players who didn't do the job. In the case of the Cubs, it's a long story. They won it in 1945. They thought they were all set, but they won it with a wartime ball club. And then when the war ended, the Cubs, unluckily, did not have the number of stars coming back from the service that the other teams have. So the Cubs then took a big dive.
I think our lead bus there was making some time. The police had moved, and then we come to a complete stop. What they may do is just stop it, and somewhere along there they've got to get out and walk. We've got a crowd that is surging around the side, the front, the back. I'm glad that they didn't try to ride in the open cars, aren't you? You can see.
Yeah, that would have been a mistake.
Let's take a break and come back to rejoin what is a very slow-moving victory parade for the Chicago Bears. In this case, we're down to a walk. Bob Wallace is right on top of the buses. What do you see?
I see buses and people, and you don't see much. Really, it's kind of a rough deal for the people that came here. They should have had buses with, the clear windows. You cannot see who's inside. Again, we've said it several times, but these have the real heavy tents, and you can't really see who's inside. We can see shadows. There's a couple of players in there.
Well, Bob, we can help you out a little bit because we know here in the newsroom which members of the Bear team are not on that bus because they have gone directly from New Orleans to Hawaii for the Pro Bowl game.
Right.
And this will be a disappointment to the people who are watching us, certainly a disappointment to the people who are out there, but Jim McMahon is not on the bus. Dent is not on the bus. Singletary is not there. Hampton, Wilson, Covert, Dewerson, and Hilgenberg. Basically, the really big, heavy hitters. Walter Payton was supposed to have gone to Hawaii as well, but I think he will be there today.
Yes. He got dispensation.
Look at that paper, will you?
Ron Craig and John Coughlin, can you see all that paper coming down? Probably can't. I think that's still on LaSalle, but you're waiting patiently in Daly Center.
Well, I can tell you that the Bears are in for one big surprise when they get here. I can imagine that a Super Bowl crowd is something pretty awesome, but this is a hometown crowd. There are no Patriot fans in this crowd.
All right, my big question is, how in the world are they going to get from LaSalle Street down Washington here to the Daily Plaza or Bear Plaza? The street is completely jammed with people from curb to curb, from building to building, all the way from LaSalle Street right here to the plaza. It's going to take some kind of police work to get them through here.
Every square inch of real estate for probably 5 blocks around here is taken up with people. A few minutes ago, some of the people on the podium asked those who have climbed up lampposts and on traffic lights to get off by orders of the Chicago Police Department, and you know what that means. We've got people on tops of buildings, on a power station over here, and of course, every office window surrounding Bears Plaza has people in it.
Well, if you want...
And some of the politicians over in City Hall have some signs out there saying, welcome to the Bears. Also a little free publicity for the politicians themselves, of course.
Even though the Bears haven't made it quite down this far yet to Bears Plaza, we're starting to see a lot of confetti, especially coming off of City Hall. Streets and Sand is going to be plenty busy down here tomorrow.
Maybe some old shredded records in there. Walter, you may want to go over and
That's a good idea.
go through that.
Stand under the front window there with a bucket. No telling what we'll come up with.
Well, we have a few minutes we can kind of think about what this means to a city. Jack has seen victories before. I feel that it's a long, long time that we've been waiting for just this moment. And while our problems certainly can't be solved with one Super Bowl victory, there is a spirit that gets really elevated, and you can get caught up in it, and people start shaking hands, and it certainly does cross the line to join black and white, that line which has been drawn by the City Hall Council Ward.
And even the warriors in the council wars have joined hands over this celebration. There have been pictures on TV and in the newspapers of Jim Montgomery, the Corporation Council, and Alderman Burke, his arch rival, singing songs together. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to have happened.
That's one of the great things about sport. Sport really transcends that sort of thing. It'll wipe out those boundaries, especially since we've had this marvelous era, and fortunately you and I are living in the era when it happened. We know what happened before they finally got that racial problem whipped in sports, especially, we'll say, baseball. And now that there's no such thing as a problem like that, this makes it all the greater. It really is just a marvelous, wonderful, friendly, and neighborly type assembling of people together that just beggars description sometimes.
And what will the fallout be? Everyone is wondering, is it the kind of good feeling and high spirit that will emerge and stay, or does it come for a day or two at most and then dissipate again?
I think one of the things that the people here kind of suspect is that we're not looking at a one-time shot. Yes. We're looking at, if you want to use that word, the building of a dynasty. I think they are, some of them already talking about successfully defending the championship.
I guess the question for the team coming up next year is whether they can maintain the kind of mental resolve that it's taken to get there in the championship.
You just put your finger on something, Bill. That is one of the most difficult things in sport, to successfully defend your championship. This is in any league, any sport. This is the one thing that is the big problem for any coach or organization.
And the problem with the Bears is that they did so much talking this year. It's wonderful now, but every team is going to want to put them on the low end of a 46-10 score.
We all get a kick out of a guy who can be cocky, provided he can deliver.
Yes. But you remember, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Walter,
so the motivation will have to be 2 in a row, then 3 in a row. I'm not sure of my sports record information, but I don't know of any pro football team that has won 3 Super Bowls in a row. Do you?
No, I think Miami won 2 in a row. But,
gee, that
and of course the Pittsburgh Steelers did it, but you're right, I'm sure, Walter. I don't have the record in front of me, but I think I'm right.
That Bear was the only one actually dressed for this kind of weather. Bob Wallace, have the buses moved past your point? No, I see they have it. They're right over your shoulder.
Well, what they've done now is kind of running bumper to bumper the buses. What happened before, and it's happening again, there's a gap up ahead of us. And the bus, as soon as the bus gets through, the crowd just closes in. So what they are doing is trying to run these buses bumper to bumper. And what you see right here, if we can pan over, are the Honey Bears in this bus. The Honey Bears are smart. They put the light on in their bus, so that kind of helps some of the reflective glare from the tinted windows, and you can see inside and see the Honey Bears. Maybe we can pan over and get a shot of them here.
You know, Bob, we're told that the original plan was to have 20 convertibles carry the Bears at a Hull, but they decided to put them, probably for safety reasons as well as the weather. There from our helicopter, that marvelous storm of confetti and ticker tape that is now raining down. Look at that, and carried by the wind.
Well, seeing Bob with the same bus that he was there before, the last time we picked him up, reminds me of the last time I saw something like that traffic-wise was that tremendous blizzard. Remember that terrible snow we had in, what is it, 1967?
67. Snow of 67.
And I remember going north on Michigan Avenue on a bus, and we were stalled so long that another guy and I got off and went into a drugstore and had a cup of coffee and had a sandwich and came out 30 minutes later and took the same bus.
Very good comparison. Bob, have you been able to see inside that bus yet?
Well, we saw inside a bus with the Honey Bears, and one of the rather exuberant fans, if we can get a shot of him way down the end there, is now on top of a bus and marching around up there, and everybody's barking at him. And I don't know how long he's going to last up there before he falls off, but he's dancing around now. Here goes another bozo. Now we're going to have two on the buses. This thing may get a little out of hand. This is just absolutely wall-to-wall people. There aren't an awful lot of police down in this area. They're doing the best they can. The cops now are telling them to get down off the bus. This ought to be fun. There goes one. Now
there are the snow drifts. The snow drifts of ticker tape.
Yep, there he goes down. Okay, jumped into the crowd. Okay, the bozos are off the buses. So it is just impossible for these things to move. They're trying to keep them one right up against the other. Here we are right in front of us. There's a little gap now. All the people are going to start moving in. They get between the buses. There's a fellow with a parade official badge trying to keep people away. It is like trying to push back, like the old coal chutes. When you used to dump the coal down the chute, it's like being down there trying to push it back. It just keeps coming and coming. Now they all see us, so they're all going to wave.
Having been in a few of these parades, nothing like this, but a few, I know how those players are feeling right now.
Oh, tell us.
Oh, they are having the time of their lives right now. They are really getting a kick out of it. They don't care if this thing doesn't go too soon. They're enjoying it. They're looking out the window. They are protected. They don't have to worry about signing autographs right now or having people climb all over them. Yet they get a chance to view this particular great moment in their lives. They are, every one of them, I'll bet you, just happy as a lark.
It's certainly a great moment in Chicago sports history. We're going to pause from this great moment and take a break. And we'll rejoin that parade in a moment. Making the turn, at least the front police cars, on to Washington. We also have joining us Jeannie Morris, who flew on the plane with them. Who is this coming out of the top there?
Let me
like
see.
a wide...
I can't see who that is.
That is Dave Duerson.
Who is that? Brian Cabral? I can't see, Bill. I have my glasses on. You tell me.
No. Jack? Well, anyway, he'll ride the covered wagon.
Yeah, that's Brian Cabral.
Brian Cabral. Jeannie, what was it like coming back on the plane?
On the plane? Well, except for the fact that Jerry Venisi made us sing Bear Down Chicago Bears 3 times and no one knew the words.
Oh, really?
It was fine. It was a real good time. On this plane, it was a fully loaded 747, and it was the whole Bear team plus all their families and all the Bear personnel, every secretary, everybody that worked for the team was there.
Was a kind of a disappointment, though, in that all the Pro Bowl Bears went straight to Honolulu? I bet they wanted to come back and they couldn't, huh?
Yes, you hit on it. The people that were disappointed were those Bears that went to Honolulu. They didn't want to go, really. It's not something you can turn down. But I remember last year, Dan Hampton was so excited to see this.
Well, our Bears have now climbed out on top of the buses. It's probably a good thing. That's the only way the crowd is going to be able to see them.
Isn't that great?
For the final ride, now they're still down close to Jackson on LaSalle Street, but that's the last bus. The police cars have already turned on to Washington. Here they are, climbing on top.
I didn't know there were holes in the top of
the
the bus.
Is that Jim McMahon in front with a leather jacket on? I just informed our audience that he was on his way to Honolulu.
No, that's That's not.
Those aren't
Well,
pump
judging by the way...
sunglasses.
No, that isn't. That might...
There's the coach. No, that's not the coach either.
That's Mike
I thought that was Mike Ditka on the right with a pair of glasses on.
He'll be moving up on top here. Was it a mood, a spirit, Jeannie, still of celebration?
Yes, all the way back on the plane, and I think one of the nice things about it was that everyone had their families with them. The Bears organized this very well and were extremely generous in terms of bringing families along.
Why, in the past, Jeannie...
I've got my glasses on now so I can see this little monitor.
That's the kind of thing that does not happen very often. The managers or the owners of the teams do not treat the players' families.
Well, I think maybe they do. You see, I couldn't tell you. I haven't been to a lot of Super Bowls with the team. But in this case, this is their first Super Bowl, and they organized it very well. You'd never know they hadn't done it 20 times.
Well, what bad planning or scheduling not to allow the team members to go home for the victory parade. It's only a day, my goodness, a matter of hours, before they have to go to the Pro Bowl.
It is a shame. I don't know why that
And the game isn't until when? February 2nd or something like
next
that?
Sunday.
It's crazy.
I think it's because they want the Pro Bowl people. It's a huge event in Hawaii, and they need them.
Sure, they want to promote it out there.
See what I mean when I tell you these guys are the happiest guys in the world right now? That's understandable, but I'm talking about this particular moment in their lives. This victory ride that they're enjoying is something that they will remember if they live to be 1,000. Yet keep in mind that these are young men. These are not grizzled, sophisticated, blasé veterans. I don't care if they've been in the league for 10 years. They're still in their 30s.
The fact that 30s, the fact that they're young men is what's so encouraging about this parade. As a matter of fact, one of the things that Mike said on the way back is we hope this will be an annual event.
Yeah. Don Craig and John Coughlin, I don't know whether they can see anybody yet. They've been waiting patiently in Daly Plaza. And you look like nothing has been happening all this time, gentlemen.
There has been plenty happening down here. The excitement and noise level has been building over just the last 10 minutes because for the first time we can see the blue Mars lights of the lead police cars and the first bus of the parade coming down toward the plaza now. And as on LaSalle Street, they're coming very slowly because of the huge crowd out here.
And the crowd notices that the bus is moving this way. It's being shown on that big diamond screen that they have here in the plaza. And when they see it moving in and they can see it getting close to us, the roar from the crowd goes up. People are excited. And it's a happy crowd. I've never seen a crowd this happy. It's like the time I graduated from 8th grade. My whole family was a crowd like this.
The admonitions from the Chicago Police Department to not climb on the trees and the lampposts and the traffic lights around the plaza are going completely unheeded.
We want the Bears! We want the Bears! We want the Bears! We want the
You can hear the roar of the crowd going up right now. We want the Bears, and we're number one.
Well, it'll take a little time.
Yes, it will take a little time to get that bus down here. I would think it'd probably take a good half hour before they get them down here and up on the platform in front of the crowd.
This crowd has been building all afternoon. As long as 2 hours ago, there were thousands and thousands of people in the plaza, and despite a wind chill of 23 below zero, these people are fired up.
Is it still that cold? Everybody looks so happy and warm.
Well, down below, when you're in the crowd, you have a little insulation from the people around you. Where we're standing up here, we're getting the full blast of it.
But the players sitting on top of the buses in sweaters and nothing else seem to not be bothered by the cold either. Jeannie, were they talking about what's next for them on the plane coming home? Are they all going to disperse at this point and go to summertime employment or rest or what? What happens to these guys?
I think not as many of them are as employed as used to be when their salaries were a little lower. Many of them do work out all year round. Now they have to. They treat it that way. But yes, they do have time off now. Although the steward has got on the intercom on the plane and said Mike Dick has announced we are going to report to practice at Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. It's no time is too soon to start again on the next one. But yes, they do have time off.
That's the thesis, right? That was a joke, or is that true?
It better be, or he would have had a house rebellion.
Any injuries from the game?
Yes.
Everybody was so
Yes,
happy.
Les Frazier got on the plane on crutches, and I had been so involved in our coverage, I didn't get the final injury report, but it looked like he had a knee injury. I don't know for sure. If I read the paper this morning in Chicago, I probably would know.
Yeah, the report is that he'll have to have surgery.
It was knee, Jack? Knee
Yes.
surgery, yeah.
And what happens now between the Bears and Richard Dent?
Richard did, like Buddy Ryan said, he has the gun, now he has the bullet.
Good
And
line.
what about, speaking of Buddy Ryan,
He's going to put it right here.
and he'll get away with it.
You bet.
And he's got a right to get
And he
away
has
with
a right
it.
to
And
get
we're
it.
all for it, right?
And we're for Richard did.
But Buddy Ryan, any new word?
Buddy Ryan, no, I just, it would just break my heart. And I think Jack agrees with this. It's been so wonderful having these two strong coaches. I hope he stays, but no word.
You certainly can't expect him to turn down an offer to be head coach of the Eagles. That's it, right?
Well, no, I don't know that he's discussed any specific offer, but we sure will get some, yeah.
Well, he certainly is one of the front runners for a couple of jobs, Walter. And,
Here comes
Oh,
the
he's the
mayor,
mayor.
Jack.
He knows how to
They're
keep
trying
warm.
to move, either stay warm or to get there soon, maybe to hold the crowd at bay and keep them settled until the players get there. But they're going to have to get there one way or the other from LaSalle over to Daly Center. Can you see the mayor yet,
there he is.
John and Don?
Absolutely. Mayor Washington just arrived on the podium to a huge cheer.
Well, Bill, you raised the question last night on our news at 10 o'clock about the residual benefits to a politician when a city gets this positive. And my remark was, well, I don't know. It's time still left, a lot of it, between now and when he has to run for re-election. There's also another whole football season. The Bears could do what others have done. We won't say it, but they could blow it next year. And then the residual de-benefits, if there is such a word. I think the mayor is really going to enjoy today and tomorrow and have his time in city council. And the community is feeling very positive, but I don't know if it's the kind of thing that translates into votes a year and a half away.
I'm sure that people will forget, and especially when he gets a little opposition on the other side, and they'll remember all the things that didn't go right. But this comes at a very good time for him. After there you are, George Hallis Drive.
Oh, wow.
What has been renamed George Hallis Drive? Did that happen while I was on vacation last week?
It's a new one on me.
The Cup Bridge, of course, will be renamed. But George Hallis Drive, maybe they just printed that up temporarily.
I don't know. I was listening to the radio driving in here from the airport, and someone referred to this as Bears Plaza today.
Yes.
So you never know, things can get
I think the mayor has renamed it at least for a couple of days, Bears Plaza. Better look out or it'll be permanent there if anybody. They wanted the Ernie Banks statue instead of the Picasso statue. Maybe they'll switch to a giant football.
That trophy, that beautiful silver giant football, will be put in Hallis Museum, right? And given a prominent place in front. There's not one of those.
Oh, my goodness.
Right now, George Sr. and Vince Lombardi must be having a lot of fun up there in football heaven. As Hallis says, wait, here it is. My team wins it. I helped found the league, and I'm accepting the Lombardi trophy.
That's right. Look at this.
I think, Jack, your observation that these are really very young men is a particularly interesting one. We tend to forget that these kids they're kids, they're just a year or two out of college.
The cheerleader there is Steve McMichael.
As somebody pointed out, years from now, the money will be gone. But that Super Bowl ring will still be there on their fingers.
Well, and the videotape will still be at home for the cassette, this videotape, and I just can't get over the 9 who didn't make it and how much they're going to miss it when they watch this on television in Honolulu.
I can tell you that one of them, Dan Hampton's heart will break. I think if he could have imagined this, last year when the Bears won the division, he came into the city of Chicago expecting what the Cubs had gotten in the same circumstance, and sat and almost cried because he couldn't find a crowd anywhere.
You mentioned a crowd. I think this is going to be the biggest crowd in a long time, if ever.
It sure will beat it for cold weather,
I cannot think of any other comparative time. Well, however, they're beginning to dissipate. When we have a band, that's down on LaSalle. You know what they're trying to do? All move over to Daly Center. And they won't make it because it's already filled.
I have to wonder what would have happened, Jeannie, if those 8 men had gotten their backs up and said, hey, we're going to go home and we'll see you one day later, I
They
want to
could
see
have done
them throw them off that squad.
Do they really
bet.
want to
They
play
could've
in that
done it.
Pro Bowl game anyway? Is it really a thrill?
There's an awful lot of prestige. No, not the game itself so much, but being selected is very important to them. They're selected, especially ones that make it several years in a row.
And what happens? They must be concerned about the possibility of an injury with a game like that could end the career.
It's a gentle football game, if there is such a thing. I was out there last year, and they're very careful. Some of the rules are changed a little bit. Defenses aren't as
I'm going to
complicated.
make a prediction that as of right now, because of this, from now on, starting next year, they will have dispensation for any Pro Bowl members of a Super Bowl winner.
Okay, let me go you one further. There have been other victory parades right after the Super Bowl, but can we say none has compared with this?
I've never seen one.
Or any
I've
other
never
sport.
seen one.
Why not be a little boastful for our hometown?
This is Jeff Fisher up there. I see Steve McMichael. Morrissey's up there.
Well, we haven't seen Walter Payton.
Or Walter,
Walter's at the Pro Bowl.
I thought they were
We
talking
could see
about you.
Yeah, we were told in here. Now, our information gets confused sometimes.
Well, Bill and Walter, we can see the team for the first time. The players on top of the buses, now coming east on Washington, making their way slowly into Bears Plaza. The crowd so loud here, you could almost not hear Mayor Washington talking over the public address system.
Looks like most of them are up there now, doesn't it?
King of the Mountain.
Buses are turning north on Clark Street, making a very, very slow progress, but they are moving.
I sense a
And the
sadness.
crowd sees them now for the first time, and the crowd not only has gone crazy, but the wind has come up to make things more exciting. The paper is flying around here like a snowstorm.
Okay.
Thank goodness it isn't a snowstorm.
Tell us what was going on with Walter Payton yesterday. We all saw him on the Super Bowl coverage, and he seemed sad walking off the field alone. And my question was whether the sadness was simply because he didn't score or what. It's hard to say.
The business of giving Perry the ball on the goal line was kind of a slap in the face, I think. And I'm not sure Walter certainly wouldn't say that. He's a team guy, but you're absolutely right. He was a sad man after that game.
Do you think that, nothing like asking you a Monday morning quarterback question, well, it is Monday. Do you think that Payton could have made that 2 yards? I mean, they keyed on him, certainly.
Oh, sure. But the point is, he was well covered. He carried the ball 20 times. He could have had a better game. They keyed on him. He was well covered. He was used as a decoy. He just didn't have one of his great games. But he was in the Super Bowl, and I'm disappointed that he was disappointed for whatever reason.
Yes, I'm sure we all are, but he did make it possible for everybody else to do well. I mean, it's a piece of satisfaction, almost consolation, that kind of feeling.
Well, if there's one advantage, one nice thing that came out of that situation with Walter yesterday, it was moving Matt Suhey into the limelight, where I've been waiting for him to show up for a long time. A guy with a perfect attitude, and he finally gave the Bears that second outstanding running back that you must have to be winners.
Well, Jeannie, was that question raised, that why did they give the ball to Perry and let him make the touchdown?
I haven't heard it raised. I just think that it's a little bit of a showboat kind of a thing. You know, Perry's getting showcased again, and the coach can do what he wants, you know, and but I still kind of feel a little bad for Walter. Although Walter did have his opportunity to take the ball in.
I think at the time, too, that they figured they had plenty of time left for Walter to have another shot.
Sure.
And he wanted those 6 points right then.
Sure.
Right.
And the one person who might regret it in retrospect is Ditka. But he isn't here to say so.
He has seemed so concerned over the whole season that Walter be given the credit that he's had due, and how much Ditka has wanted Walter to make the 100 yards at least in all those games. So he must have been aware, you know, that it was Walter's chance, but he chose the refrigerator anyway just to get the 6 points.
Well, I've never seen a victory parade, homecoming like this.
Well, we'll watch Walter score the first touchdown in the Super Bowl next year.
Absolutely. He says he's going to play 3 more years. Says he wants to make 18,000 yards, right?
Yes, that's what he says.
14,000.
But then he said he was going to play 4 years the first time I interviewed him, so who knows? He may play for 15. Look there's a man zipping up his jacket. Gary Finsick.
Wonder if
Fensick did not make the Pro Bowl, huh?
No, and he should have.
Sure should have.
Chicago Ukrainians love Mike Ditka. There are the
But
buses caught in Jack Brickhouse's snow of 86.
Ditka, by the way, is not Ukrainian. He is Polish, his background. He has said, in reference to that Grabowski remark, which might be the best quote of the season.
I'll tell you what Dick is. Dick is Chicago. I mean, he may not have been born here, but I think he symbolizes so much of our city and his personality, some of the weak points as well as the strong points.
Also coming out of Pittsburgh, everyone is Slavic, from Croatian to Polish.
There isn't another city in the country more like Chicago than Pittsburgh.
No,
either,
you
I
can
don't think.
claim anything out of those steel mills.
And you're right. There probably is no other major personality more Chicago than Mike Ditka.
But
Right?
plus, those European boundaries change so often.
Yeah, who knows? That's right. They're Ukrainian,
old
1
days,
year Polish.
especially.
He has 4 children. Is that right?
That's right.
Mike Ditka?
3
And
boys and a girl.
one of his sons is still in high school here, and is it not right, a football player?
Right.
In one of the suburbs?
Right.
Is he good?
Matt?
Has anybody ever seen him? Can you imagine what it would be like?
That's Kitty Baldessari, the Bears public relations man, cheerleading down there, and he did a wonderful job. First time, very young man, did a wonderful job of coordinating things for the Bears.
He comes by his talent honestly, of course, Jeannie. His father is Roger Baldessari, who was the director of publicity and I think assistant athletic director now at Notre Dame.
Right.
I saw those men hanging on the street signs. They're going to need George Hellis, Boulevard or Street. By the
Yeah,
time
George
there they
better blow
are.
a little warm air on them.
You know, John and Don have been standing watching this parade. Finally, there's
That's
Ken
Kevin
Magnuson.
Butler.
Right.
Yeah,
Bill and Walter and Jeannie, the buses have just started inching forward again, making the turn north onto Clark Street. I noticed a number of the Bears who were on top of the buses have finally decided to put a little more clothing on than their sport jackets. It is cold out here. The wind chill about anywhere from 23 to 30 below zero this afternoon. Mike McCaskey, of course, on the lead bus holding the Vince Lombardi Trophy. They're only about 100 to 200 yards away from the podium right now, but I expect it's going to take them a few more minutes to get up there. When they do, I understand the drill is going to be Johnny Morris and sportscasters from Chicago's 2 other major television stations going to introduce the Bears ownership, the Bears players. Mayor Washington's going to make some speeches. You wouldn't believe some of the places that people have climbed to watch the events this afternoon. One of the trees just across the street from City Hall, it's not a very big tree, and there are about 5 people in it right now.
Yeah, the Picasso isn't a lady at all. It was a playground ornament all this time.
I think the people with the best spot here on the plaza are standing next to the eternal flame. It's about the only heat source.
I'm trying to figure out exactly which street are they talking for George Hallis Drive.
Well, you know, they sometimes, Jack, they just name a street, any street, for a period of time, for the day or for 2 days, and then take it back.
I think it might be a good idea.
Yeah, deserves a permanent.
Well, sure, in Hallis's case, why not? We have Lombardi Drive in Green Bay. We have Lou Boudreau Street and Drive in Cleveland.
Do we have a sports figures drive in Chicago? I'll bet none.
Ernie Banks?
Well, there is a
there's
bank, but it's not Ernie.
It's in the Gold Coast area on the near north side.
I don't think there's a one. Certainly not a prominent one. We have politicians and recently civil rights leaders, Martin Luther King. Why not a sports
They
figure?
got Roberto Clemente School.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, Jeannie.
You know, we're looking at these guys putting on more clothing on the buses. I mean, on the plane, as we were landing, we were told most of us didn't carry heavy clothes to New Orleans. We were told that they would issue blankets to us.
Issue blankets?
When we got down here. So I said, I hope they're orange and blue, but they said they didn't know.
Well, they wouldn't be caught dead in a blanket in front of this crowd. Don, I see you trying to figure out whether or not how they're going to get down off those buses.
A ladder and get them down.
Bringing people up on the bus.
Why don't they just move the microphone over to the buses and they can make that the stage?
Not a bad idea.
Get Harold Washington on the bus rather than bringing all of them down to him.
I think they have a lot of non-Bears players
On
who
the
have
bus?
joined them, yes. How'd you like to be in the last bus?
There are a lot of non-Bears players in this whole group.
Sure.
So,
On the buses, right?
Yeah, so a lot of these people aren't players.
Who are they, then? Children? No, they can't be children.
No.
Well, they're symbolic figures. Certainly they represent the greater team, and we needed an excuse to go out there and celebrate.
Mayor Washington a while ago said something when he was talking about George Halas Drive. I think he mentioned exactly where and what it was going to be, but the crowd was yelling so loud at the time we couldn't catch it from up here.
Has the crowd surged in, Don, to pack it even thicker there since it began?
I'm sorry, I couldn't catch your question. There's so much crowd noise.
When we joined you the last time, you had enough people on your hands as it was. Have more come over from LaSalle following those buses?
Well, it's hard to tell from our vantage point here. I can see almost all the way west to the river on Washington and almost all the way over to, well, at least to State Street, and it's solid people all the way, so I'm sure more people have joined the crowd. A lot of offices in the area, we understand, let out early today so people could come over and watch the big event.
You probably can't see this, but Mike McCaskey is holding the Super Bowl trophy aloft.
We can see it, as a matter of fact. The crowd, as you can hear, loves it. I haven't seen a crowd this big since Pope John Paul II visited Chicago. This is at least outside of his major sporting event.
And he did not go down LaSalle and into Daly Plaza. It was over in Grant Park, of course. Well, he made it. There they are.
There's the trophy.
Johnny.
This is what it's all about.
Ladies and gentlemen, Super Bowl champion, the Chicago Bears of 1985.
The man behind Harold Washington there, if you can't recognize him underneath the hat, is George Ryan, the Lieutenant Governor. Must be representing Governor Thompson, who's on the Far East, in the Far East on a business trip.
The governor will be sorry he missed this, too.
I can't tell you what a great moment this is for all of us Chicago Bears. Today, in this country, everybody is a Chicago Bear fan. Our Bear family has a dream, and that's to be a championship ball club. The players, the coaches, the staff have worked hard and long to make it happen and happen. We are the Super Bowl champs.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Spoken like a true graduate of Harvard University, right? That's where Mike McCaskey's from. He's George Halas' grandson, of course.
Superb players. And there are a lot I couldn't mention. Samurai, the Colonel, Double T, Jimbo. It goes on and on. But if you had to mention one, player, it would have to be Walter Payton.
What a day for Chicago. It's been a long
When
time.
the crowd started chanting, Walter, Walter, in that Superdome. That's exactly right. He's earned that respect. He's earned that respect as a man and as a football player. He can stand for the Chicago Bears. We also had to have superb coaching. We have in Mike Ditka a coach who, better than any other, stands for the values of Papa Bear Halas. He stands for toughness. He stands for a joy in competing. And he hates like hell to lose. That's Mike Ditka. There are also other people in the Bear organization of whom I am very proud and to whom I am most thankful. Jerry Venisi, Bill Tobin, and all the rest. Thank you.
Well, he's yes, Captain.
who are watching,
Ladies and gentlemen, when it goes.
I realize what has happened here. He was a little restrained yesterday after the
Thank you, Chicago.
All
right.
What has really happened here. It's finally caught up.
I'd just like to say thank you for your support. It was a total team and city effort. Credit goes to the Chicago Bears organization, our players, our coaches, our wives. I just want to thank you fans for your support. We brought a championship home to Chicago. Thank you.
He caught the pass that put that game on ice yesterday.
Really go.
He also caught the pass that pulled the Bears out of a hole, didn't he?
Same thing. That's the pass I'm talking about, Walter.
Shall we give him the finger? Shall we give him the finger?
There's the battle cry.
Shall we give him the finger? We're number one. We're number one. We're number one.
And here's the Chicagoan, Emery Moorhead.
All right.
Emery followed this team all his life.
Followed this team.
All right, we're going
All
home
his
for
life.
you. All right, we're number
Played
one.
at Evanston. He
We're
wanted
going to
nothing more
stay
than to
that
be a Bear.
way.
No,
See, he's wearing a blanket.
He
He
has
said
given
they
his
wouldn't do
life.
it.
There.
Place kicker Kevin Butler. Hey! Isn't this sweet? Hey, we just make your plans for Pasadena, because that's where we're stopping next year. One more time.
That must be for the Super Bowl.
Mongo, Steve McMichael.
Oh, this man, he's wonderful.
I just have one thing to say. We all have bragging rights over the whole goddamn country.
You say he's wonderful, Jeannie?
I love him.
What?
Because he can say more in one short
Yes, he
sentence
can.
than anybody I've ever known.
Great wit.
So now he goes home to Texas to pursue his hobby.
Rattlesnake hunting.
Yeah, hunting rattlesnakes.
That's really it, huh?
From Joliet, Illinois, Tom Thayer. We got fair weather to come back to. It's great to be home, and we're getting ready for next year. We're number one.
Played under Gordy Gillespie out at
We have
Joliet.
We have a plaque here for the owners of the Chicago Bears, Mr. Mike McClaskey. Here's a plaque for that great team and that great ownership.
All right. Very happy. Thank you very much.
NFL Super Bowl number 20 champion.
All right. Thank you.
Two very proud people have to be Virginia and Ed McCaskey,
Yeah.
not only because of their background, but also they're watching their son do a super job in a very short time.
The S-curve is going to be named
Yes,
George Hallis Curve.
George Hallis Curve. He's the guy who couldn't hit a curve. Isn't that right, Jeff?
George?
Yeah.
Well, he always claimed they didn't really give it to him right.
Oh.
They always pitched him high on outside. He couldn't reach it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Philip Miller of Marshall Field. Mr. Miller, to make a presentation.
This is the Waterford Super Bowl football for Mike McCaskey and the team. Let's give him a big cheer.
Waterford Crystal?
Waterford Crystal. You don't want to kick that anywhere.
Oh, we worked on that a while.
How do you like their chances to get it home safe?
I like
I don't know if you had to have a chance one or lose one or the other one. Which would you rather lose? Waterford Crystal? Yes, the Crystal.
Yeah, but you can fill the crystal with gold.
You guys been here another time?
Speaking of gold, there's a lot of gold involved in this victory, too. A lot of hard cash.
What will the players make, Jenny?
I think it's 64,
70,000.
70 all
Ladies and gentlemen,
Playoff money. 36,000.
the rest of the players can't get off the bus.
In the Super Bowl.
It's been a great
Playoff
day.
game, total 70.
We're number one. We're number one. We're number one.
I think it's a wise wrap-up,
We're number one.
especially in view of the inclement weather there. Minus 23 degrees wind chill factor, and
Everybody get home safely.
yes, and telling them to go home. The players
Get home
simply can't get off the
safely.
bus.
You're all precious. You're all number one. Number one. Be careful. Get home safely. Get home safely.
Well, the question is now is whether they will go home with the buses and the Bears players still there.
I'm doing a double take, Ginny. I think you're right on the 64 where the Bears are concerned. Had the Patriots won it, with that extra playoff game they had, it would have been 70 for their men total.
still a lot of money.
Oh, well.
And
Like
well
somebody once said, you want to see a Super Bowl sometime? Give the winners $50,000 apiece and give the losers $1.
And still a lot of celebration to watch. We're going to be covering it at 5 o'clock and at 6 and at 10, of course. Here is Walter Payton. Let's listen to what he has to say.
There's Hampton.
I think they tricked us. This is pre-recorded, obviously, from yesterday.
Well, we will, as Bill just said, back for our news at 5, and a little more of this will be after just a minute.
Center on time, and now they can't get the crowd out. So we're going to be here for a while. Let's try and pick up Bob Wallace wherever he is. Bob?
Well, I'm in the middle of the street, and there are only about 20 people left, but the idiot magnet up there has picked them up. We wanted to show you a big empty street. We'll try to pan down there, Howard, if you could, and see the city crews, which are attacking this like that attacked the remnants of a snowstorm. You can see the dump trucks, the big vacuum cleaner right down in front of us. This is quite a machine. This just really sucks this stuff up. You can see them picking up all that confetti. I wouldn't want to get my foot in that. They're liable to take a person in there. You never know. They may find a couple of drunks in the piles of paper that's around here.
You know, what strikes me about that is, what else does that machine do? Or did they buy that machine?
Uh-oh, here we go.
Supposed to cost $1 million for a ticker tape parade, and if so, when did they buy it? Must do something else, right? That's probably a truck that can be used for multiple purposes. They just attach the vacuum cleaner.
I heard on the radio on the way down here that the city had a 3-hour deadline they gave themselves to clean up this mess.
Well, they had Rush Street cleaned up this morning, and things went there till 3 o'clock. Well, it's been quite an afternoon, a piece of Chicago history, and I hope that you've enjoyed it as much as we have. Jeannie Moore.